Hey, Margaret. Anthony. Well,
Hello, how are you?
hopefully you're not turning into a icicle. One of my good buddies, Aaron Buckbinder, he's in DC. He's like, I don't know how you people live like this. You're on mute. He's from Boca, so he's not ready for the cold out here. Julie, how are you?
I'm good. I'm also freezing. It's it was 1 degree here this morning.
Yeah, it like feels like four.
Ugh, yeah. Below. Yeah. I
I
love
don't
the
know. I'm one of these people that if I'm going to work this many hours in the summer, my house is going to be really cool, and in the winter, I keep my heat at 75. I could care less how much it costs. My daughter's tutors, I was like, you have the warmest house in the world.
that's a plus for
You're gonna work,
sure.
you're gonna work all these hours, like the basic comforts of life, like heating, cooling. All right, so let's get started. Small group today. I feel like a lot of people have their kids' spring break this week. We've seen like a lot of people MIA. You can see my kids floating around. Today's bring your kids to work day. So all right, let's get through this. By the way, just so you know, all the templates and the forms and everything that's referenced here, we have created for you and we're going to give to you, right? So you don't have to make anything new. You just have to edit what you have, edit what we give. Sounds good? So look, I like these groups because they're a little smaller and it could lead to discussion. Does anyone currently use a standardized interviewing and selecting candidate process? Okay, lots of opportunities.
Not.
What's that?
I do not have a standard.
Well, you'll all have one after today.
Love it.
Brian's a New Yorker. That's what I'm here for. If you get to know Brian, he's like the king of one-liners. You see him, he's also quiet and curt here, but it's actually in person, real life, Brian's quite an entertaining individual. All right, so we're going to go through aligning your value proposition with recruiting, setting up a recruiting process, identifying red flags, my favorite one, ensuring value alignment, communicating next steps, Q&A, and applied learnings. Allison, nice to see you. Okay, here's the big overview of the concept. When you align your value proposition with recruiting, it saves time and improves profitability. Have any of us really thought how much a bad hire really costs? Rule number one of this game, do not fall in love with potential. Just remember, you're hiring team members. You're not adopting children. I hear these things every single week of my life for years now, right? And people tell me things and I'm making decisions on facts, not feelings, because I'm a subjective third party. And I say, oh, I'm like, did you not mention that John or Jane is your son or daughter? They're not my son or daughter. Are you sure? Come on. Really? And like, Chirag, they're not my son or daughter. So then why are you trying to parent them as opposed to be a business owner? My goal is for you to value yourselves 10 times more than you do. Your time, your resources, and the huge risk that you take in your business. Margaret has a large team. Margaret, are your expenses cheap every month?
Very expensive.
Exactly. So you need to put people in there. And I explain this, the video guys we have in our studio are all, minus one of them, so there are three of them. They're both young and fresh, 23 and 26, right? And two of them have decided to do something for free for somebody, right? Which is good, but the people they're doing it are people that are TV personalities and everything. And I said, do you know what really successful people generally do to young, ambitious people? It starts with an E. I go, they exploit them. And I said, if they had the same conversation with me as they're having with you, it would be a very different conversation. So if you think about it, let me distill this down into a lesson, because part of working at a personal professional development company is learning how to grow yourself, right? I said, if someone is doing something for free, right, they're doing it with a goal in mind. And if the other party does not ask you what the goal is or how they can support you hit their goal, it's not a great partnership. So we started talking through economics of like, scaling out, like shooting content for people. And the first thing that the gentleman asked me, right, 26 years old, his name's Hunter. He goes, how would the profit sharing work? Because we want to make sure to factor in the overhead costs that you have, as well as the upfront costs that you spent building this place out. It's like, wow, welcome to the party, right? You'll do well in business that way. But how many people have we met in our lives where it's like, what can you do for me? That's all. Like, how much can I take? Well, what are you going to give? Like, why would you be a good team member? Why should we allow you to be on this team, right? And look, you want to make sure that they're in alignment with your vision, values, goals, and culture. There is no amount of money that somebody could make you that's a bad culture fit. Who here has been at Compass 5 years or more? All right, Brian, you're in New York, you're in Washington, 2 OG markets. How many times have you seen top producing agents kicked out of this company, Jen, 6 years, because they're bad culture fits? All the time. And if you go to your previous brokerages, these people get to walk on water, treat people however they want. They're the top producer. Well, rising tide raises all ships, and sinking tide sinks all ships, right? And so look, a structured recruiting process in a nutshell is to filter out the wrong things. I always say the whole point of a filter is to keep out the things that are not meant to be here, right? But if we don't have any process, there's a saying in life, if you don't know where you're going, you'll end up anywhere. If you don't know who you're looking for, you will end up with anyone. And for me as a business coach, for all of you, it's very scary. Right? Like you can do an exercise with your team. Are they negative? Are they positive? Are they neutral? The negative people, just let them go. Addition by subtraction is the greatest team building equation. At the end of the day, you want to be fulfilled in the business you have based on the time, the resources, the risk, and really what you got into building a team. So look, we're going to go through, we're going to use a standard application template and customize to reflect your values, right? But here's the thing. The sole purpose of data, according to me, is so you can make future decisions off it, which leads to my third point. You need to know what the outcome you're looking for is, the information, and how you're going to use it. All right. I'm going to use Margaret's business because I know it well, fairly well, right? But we're furthering along our dates where I understand it more and more, but I can learn a business. I think you could attest to this fairly fast, right? So like a big part of her value proposition is the insane amount of online leads that they provide, right? So if someone shows up and says to them, how do you feel about cold leads, frequent availability, working evenings, weekends, fast turnaround time, long-term follow-up, being organized, being available. And they're like, I'm really looking at this for freedom and flexibility. Like, I'm looking to help people that have like established clients that really want to buy. Yeah, the dream of every agent in the world, right? That's a bad fit for her. Because in the end of the day, now I know the information that I got, that person will never, ever be happy. Never. Right? So get rid of them right in the beginning. Sending an application. Do not, if possible, and I don't care if you have to make a dummy email, right? You should have a clear delineation that you don't do everything. Do you know how many team members or team leaders that I've coached in my life where I've had them make a dummy email address that just says EA and whatever their domain is, or a name or an alias? Don't let people know you're the admin, even if you're the admin, right? Who here never thought of that? Yeah. So it should come, this application should come from somebody else. Call them Veronica, call them Jason, call them Tom. And if someone joins, like, who's Tom? Oh, they work for us virtually. That's it, right? And the two things that you do is you also be clear on what the next steps are and a link. And I always like this to bury something at the bottom, right? PS, make sure to reply to this email that you received it prior to filling the information out. Why do we do that? Anybody know?
Make sure they're reading and attention to detail.
Yep. Fine.
To make sure that they read it all the way through.
That they can listen and follow directions,
Yeah.
right? And then some people add like a crazy question in the end that if they didn't read the bottom thing of like what like the little thing was, and you make it in smaller lettering to see if somebody really goes through it, they won't be able to answer the question. And then use their template to provide for consistency. Consistency is the only way that you're going to get repeatable, predictable results, right? If everything is custom, nothing is scalable. Reviewing the application. Number one, you want to let people know that once you submit this, we'll get back to you in 1 business days, 2 business days, whatever it is, right? Look for alignment with the ideal candidate profiles. Has anyone sat down and written out who my ideal agent for my team is based on my team, my resources, and my value proposition? I'm going to go on a slight tangent. This is the biggest problem I have. It's funny. I talked to a PR person that in Westport here, the amount of affluent people and VCs and all this stuff. So they want me to host like a founder series, right? And the woman was telling me about what she did. And then she said that one of her clients was NAR. And I'm like, the worst trade or like, and literally, if you start getting me going on NAR, I could spend 45 minutes listing out things like this on why they did such a bad job for everybody, down to how they have so much money in the bank and they hired it's like they hired a lawyer out of law school that never even watched like a court TV show. And the other person was Harvey Specter from Suits, right? Like if you've ever watched an episode of Matlock or any other court show, were you paid for your testimony today? Yes. Okay. Dismissed. Right? Like they had their chief economist, like the guy couldn't have just done this for the service of his industry. They've collected God knows how much money for. No, but this is NAR's fault. They told us all to start teams and to do all this stuff, but no one trains you how to do. So think about your ideal candidate. And if you don't know how to do a candidate, how many of you have websites? So go on ChatGPT, the 4.0 version said, put in my website, say, I'm Margaret Babington. I run this team. I'm trying to identify my client profile. Please ask me questions one by one till you're 100% confident in what my team's value proposition is. And when completed, I will assign your next task. Then when they get it, they understand what your value proposition is. Now, please ask me questions one by one till you're 100% confident in building out the ideal candidate profile for an agent on my team. We don't need to figure this out ourselves. Like AI, used the right way, is a great thinking partner. It can be collaborative. AI used in the wrong way can become a crutch where if it disappears one day, you're like scrambling like your whole life had. Make sense? And the last one, red flags. Like we have a whole red flag section here, right? Like, and it really, we're looking at the way that people show up with their values, the way people make decisions. Like I'm looking for anything I could find. Like for me personally, you want to know, you want to laugh of what like a big red flag is? So I would ask Brian if I was interviewing him, hey, Brian, unmute yourself. Beautiful hair, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Hey, Brian, how often do you get your haircut?
I get my hair cut about once a month.
All right, great. Once a month. And have you been going to the same person for a long time?
Yes, I have.
How long?
For the last, since I moved to my current neighborhood in 2014, I've been going to the same barber.
Got it. And would you ever consider going to somebody else like a few times based on scheduling availability, or do you just generally stick with that one person?
I'm happy with the service I get. He knows me well. He knows what I like, and I'd more likely stick with him.
Got it. So I would hire Brian, like he passed one of my value tests, right? I don't trust a person to work in an environment with me that like your hair is such an important thing, right? Like You know, even if Anthony bicks his head, right? Like for most of us, right? Like hair is something important. Somebody who's willing to go to any salon or any barber shop at any time and jumps, I'm like, that is just, I can't trust that person, right? Those people are ship jumpers, right? Like, and what I find is another great question I like to ask is, tell me about one or two of like your closest relationships, right? So if I ask you about your best friends, whether it's your dog, your cat, your mom, your sister's, your face is going to light up, right? Like if someone asks me about like, who's like one of your closest friends? I'd say, oh, my old manager and mentor, Rory. He's one of my closest friends. Amazing impact on my life, right? Like I'm really close with my younger brother. I was like growing up, I was like the moms were like, people light up. They're also people that when you ask them that question, they pause, right? And then you give them the benefit of the doubt and they're like, oh, well, there are people you find that can't answer that question. Do you know why that's a major red flag? Because these are people that literally everywhere they go is an expiration date. We all know people like this. And then somehow there's always a problem. It's not their fault. Screw these people. I'm not talking to them. Those are bad real estate agents. Bad for culture, bad for PR, because they'll badmouth you, right? And if you don't, Google these words, non-disparagement. You all should have non-disparagement agreements with your teams, right? So like standard things, just tangent, right? Non-solicit, they can't solicit people in your database. Non-disparagement, right? And then you also should spell out if they leave, what happens to their active clients they're working with, properties that are in contract, and how those are paid out in the time frame. And if they take the listings, they have to pay you a 25% referral fee, plus all the costs of the marketing, right? You need all these things to have clarity, right? Because these are things that should come up and be discussed in the interview process. So they're not surprises and drama later. The only person I think I know in my life currently that likes drama is my 8-year-old daughter, Valentina, who goes, drama is the spice of life, Daddy. No, it's not the spice of anything. No. Right? So think about all these things and choose the ones that you want to apply to your business. Avoid candidates, right? This is David, our executive leadership coach. One of his favorite questions, she already is. One of his favorite questions is, if you have bad news for a client and you made a mistake, what would you do? Would you own it? Would you delay it? Would you people that want to not own it, face it head on, delay it, or not sure, try to pass it off, see you later, are indifferent to miss deadlines, right? I got this question from Brendan Bouchard. He asked this at a seminar. He goes, I ask every person I interview for my team, has there ever been a time where you knew something had to get done and it didn't? Every person says yes, because it happens in life all the time, right? And then the next question he asks, he goes, how did you feel in that moment? He goes, you'll find a few different types of distinct people. One, people like, you know what? It happens. It's okay. I accept it. I don't beat myself up. And then he's like, there are other people that are just go, I feel really guilty. You know, I knew it was supposed to get done. He goes, always hire people that have guilt. You want to hire people that want to get it right and not be right. Then also team members, right? It's like being married to somebody that like wants to have all this independent, go on date, like independence and being part of a team or being in a relationship are two very different things, right? Like you think about you're single and you're in a relationship and then you're married. They're different types, right? So even if you're in a serious relationship, you're not portraying yourself as available. Well, if you join a team, there's certain things that being part of the team, driving the mission, the vision, the values, the goals, and being a brand ambassador, you don't do. You don't go on a team and make yourself look like you're using all the team resources and now you're a solo agent. And aren't aligned with your core offerings, right? If I hate online leads, I'm not working on Margaret's team. If I don't like coaching, I'm not joining Brian's team because all of his team members join the sessions and Sean's, right? But these are things that are really simple, but no one ever thinks about this, right? Like these are not like, I didn't give you any woof moments. Maybe some of the questions are like, wow, like that's pretty interesting. But these are all like, this is what the byproduct on the other side of this is what happens when we don't operate with the system and a process. You end up with all this disjointed stuff. You end up with loss of time, loss of income, frustration. And in the end, most of the time, you're better off firing everybody, hiring like 1 to 3 to 5 salaried agents, depending on your workload, 2 administrative staff people, and just enjoy your life. But we all got into this for something different. right? So we need to make sure that the people align with what we're offering. Value alignment. The last question, the application should confirm the value match. If candidates' priorities don't align, they're not a good fit, and the perfect candidate's values will match yours, right? Values are so important. You know, when they do arranged marriages actually have a higher statistical probability than what they would call a love marriage, right? And do you know why that is? Because people in arranged marriages predetermine two people coming together on shared values. It's like as close to 100% as possible. And over time, two people can learn to care for each other and other things like that. But what we find also too in relationships is if people don't have value alignment and we both see the world very differently, the relationship doesn't work over time. So look, communicating next steps. We have an email template. If they're rejected, have your admin or the new admin send the email so it never even touches your thing. If they're a good fit, schedule a one-on-one meeting and use our structured email templates for clarity. And final tips is be timely with your communication. Don't keep people waiting, right? Focus on the values, the skills, and the other part I would be is don't focus on just their potential and learn the process and follow it 100% of the time, right? Like nuts and bolts, that's it. So now we have time for Q&A. Sean.
Unmute. So I'm thinking about doing this in our database. We have all of these agents. Would it be appropriate to filter out the Compass agents and then hit everyone with a bulk email with this link? Or should we use more discretion in who we're sending this out to?
Fine. I mean, Sean, can I just send you an email on Tinder and say, hey, can we have you want to apply to get married?
Maybe.
No. Right? Yeah,
Okay.
actually you can, right? Because there's nothing to stop your fingertips, right? But like,
Uh-huh.
think about this logically. 0 to 1, we talked about different ways to share your value proposition, right? You should
Uh-huh.
keep a list and try to be of value and don't just solicit people, right?
Got it.
Also, you don't want to just solicit people. What are you going to do? Send somebody an email? There's a saying we had at Compass when I worked here. It says ADR. You know what ADR stands for? Agents don't read. You all don't read our emails. There's lots of important information. You guys paid to be in this program. You think a stranger is going to read your email? It's not like we want to build a funnel, right? Right. So
Got it.
offer a webinar, right? Like offer something of value, see who shows up, see who participates. And then ask them like if you'd want more information, but it's just like it's like long-term lead nurturing. You have to nurture the relationship before you ask for the close.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Jennifer, I see the mouth moving. Something wants to come out.
No, I just take away from this, like we're new. Allison and I are business partners starting a team, and we've made already a couple bad hires. And so just taking away from this and applying it is, you know, it's not hard, but it's been earth-shattering at the same time.
Tell me more.
Well, I'll tell you more. What do you mean?
Well,
We just let our VA go yesterday for not being the right fit. When we first started, we had another admin and another agent, and just, you know, got so excited and jumped right in. And now, you know, we are looking to expand, but we're just have stepped back and taken all the things through this process and just said, slow down. And putting this together first has just been enlightening.
look, you have to slow down to speed up. I'm
Yeah.
a big believer.
And that's it's cost us a lot, I think, not doing that process.
But you never knew, right? Like you had plausible deniability. You did the best that you could with the information you had and the resources at your disposal, right? But like, you know, now you're hearing this and now you can go through a process, and we'll go through this entire process again next quarter, and everyone should hear it. One of my favorite things in coaching is I've heard this already. Hearing and knowing how to do something and mastering how to do it is two very different things. And mastering comes from application, mistakes, and then growth. right? Jen.
Hey, sorry I'm off camera today. More of just a comment. You said, watch for the independence and that misalignment with like the team collaborative, that the team collaboration values. And it's my business partner and I have been having lengthy discussions about one of our team agents who we know isn't a great fit. We finally made the decision to pull the plug, and then she beat us to the punch. She said she scheduled a meeting with us yesterday to say that she's going to go independent. So it's more of just like kind of funny, haha. It's one of these just like the writing was on the wall so early, and if we had just paid attention to some of these cues, we could have saved ourselves a lot of time.
Yep. But now you know, right? Like, look, there's not losses, there's only lessons, right? You're going to lose throughout this process of anything that you build. But it's being smart enough not to make the same mistake 2, 3, 4, 5 times. And the biggest mistake I see people make is falling in love with potential. And overcompensation. There's some
So, I was going to ask a question.
Yeah.
I love recruiting. I was a former recruiter, so I love hiring and I love people. And so, we have a big team. However, I think you hit it on, I fall in love with potential sometimes. So, how I want to get people playing up, like producing more. And we have a culture, like a family culture team. So I'm curious to know like strategies on, kind of first year expectations. Do you put that on paper when you bring people
You
in?
put all of this on paper, and like for your business, I would put expectations of activities, right? You can't tell an independent contractor what to do, but you sure as hell can say, if you want online leads, then you have to do these activities. So it's an opt-in program, right? And I would have them sign something. I'm opting into the lead program here that requires me to do these activities. I know at any point that I could opt out, and as an independent contractor, I'm not required, that kind of stuff. I talked to a lawyer, and then I'd opt in, and if they didn't follow the program, going to trainings, role playing 5 days a week. If I had online leads, I would not give, especially a lot of them, I would not give a single lead to a single person that didn't role play 5 days a week. Because I'm losing money. Because they don't know how to talk to people. And they're not willing to practice talking to people.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And by the way, for to the other point of like playing up, ask people, can you share a time in your life that you faced a really big challenge, how you dealt with it, and what was the outcome, and where did that take you in your life, and see what they say. Anyone else have any questions? Julie? Anthony? Susie?
I don't have any questions, but as Strug, I'm just sort of unwinding a team and going in a different direction with a team. And so I like the slow, get your shit together before you start doing anything else. And I think it's really important to hone in on everybody's individual role as a team leader. And that's what we're really focusing on right now. And back to Margaret's comment, I tend to love to do the mentoring, and that's not very productive. So I'm going to start to knock that off a little bit.
Got it. So
I
let's
got a
listen,
question.
if you want, go ahead.
I actually have another question too.
So
Um,
my question is, where do you embed this process? Are you doing like a timeline and business tracker, or I know we're all about processes and building them out, but where do we keep them? Like, where do we build
This
out?
is like a Google Drive process, right? Like this is not in Compass, right? You're sending somebody an email. This works with your email, Google Forms, and Google Calendar.
I have a question. What would you suggest a strategy? Because we are a busy team, but when, things happen to the team members they actually end up asking my business partner and I to fill in. So a lot of the, I just feel like we are just always slammed. And it's interesting to me that the team always comes to us when they need coverage. So I was wondering how to handle that.
So one, you want to build out a
Different behavior.
structure where they start covering, you want to start having them, and then something you're gonna have to put thought into, but literally people that are not available go to a coverage list, right? And on any given weekend, every person has to write, like, you know, you could say, if you're on this team, you need to be available for coverage one time a month. And there's enough of you, one weekend a month, they can be on that list and they could all kind of rotate.
Oh my God. That's like literally what I need. Thank you.
You're welcome. Oh, this made my day. Yeah, you should not be covering anyone's appointments like this. Thank God you told me this. Yep. And this is why we need that director of operations, Margaret. This would be a great project for someone like that. But you build a team coverage map and say, look, if you want to be part of the leads program, you have to cover once a month, right? I know other agents that they give their teams, team members leads, and like you have to do 3 open houses a month. You can't have leads. So think about it. Overvalue what you have more and protect it. So as always, with love in my heart, I love you all. Write down your questions so that we can make sure that at the end of the first 8 weeks, we made good progress. And then we have the last 4 and then it resets. And I hope you decide to come on March 20th here. If you want to come, send me an email. We still have some spots left. All right, everybody. See you soon. Bye.